Hello, and welcome to today's Wednesday Words, where we'll be talking about why it matters to establish communication goals. Do you have a clear understanding about how you're doing with your communication today? Do you understand how communication fits into the bigger picture of your current role performance, your next role, and even your ultimate career ambitions? Just like any performance-related activity, whether it's to do with your work, fitness, and anything else to do with self-development, setting goals is incredibly important so that we have the compass, we understand where we're heading, and we can really focus our energy and our effort in an efficient way so that we're really developing in the quickest way possible. It's exactly the same with our communication. We want to understand how communication fits into the bigger picture of our work and career so that we can really make the difference in developing the skills and areas that we need to be really effective in the workplace. So today I'm going to talk about not only why setting these communication goals is important, but also how to go about doing that in a way that really makes sense for your other self-development activities. So let's start by looking and learning around this topic. And the first point is to start with your why. So before you set any goals, you need to really understand, why is it that you want to improve your communication skills? What is this going to enable you to do that you currently can't do, or you currently find challenging? How is this improving your communication skills going to help you with your current role? So what kind of results and areas will it help you improve? Also ask yourself, how is it going to help you in the next step in your career? So whether that is a promotion or moving into a new role, how is being a more effective communicator going to help you? And then finally, I want you to really think about, what is your ultimate career ambition? What does that look like? And what type of communicator do you need to be to really reach that end goal? If you're somebody who's running your own business rather than working inside a business, then these questions also really apply. But just think about it in terms of what it is you need to communicate today, and what will your communication allow you to do for your business? And ultimately, how will it allow you to grow your business and really develop it to its maximum potential? So this is your starting point. You start with why. Next, I want you to really think about to visualize your success. And I really want you to think about your ideal situation where you're communicating in flow in exactly the way that you want to. And I want you to visualize it in detail. So I want you to think about the situation and imagine, what do you look like? So imagine a physical space where you're sitting or standing. Imagine what you're wearing, how you are, what's your presence like. Imagine your facial expressions and imagine how your voice sounds. I also want you to imagine the other people. So I want you to imagine some faces and how they're listening to what you have to say. Imagine how they're reacting to you and what their final words are to you, perhaps when they come talk to you afterwards. This can be incredibly powerful. This type of very positive visualization, where you're imagining all the positive feelings, the positive imagery, and what you might hear, is a great motivator towards your end goal and will help you when you're in that development journey. So I do encourage you to spend some time. Either you can write it down or you can simply think about it, but do develop that idea of what does the ideal look like. So that is visualize your success. From here, we then need to think about today's picture. Now, that's quite important because if we have our end goal in sight, we need to understand where we're coming from and how we're going to get there. So we have to start with what is today our current situation with our communication skills. And as you can imagine, feedback is incredibly important in this. So I do encourage you to ask a trusted colleague or somebody that you know well, who experiences you in your different situations where you're communicating, for some feedback, and just ask them some simple questions such as what you're doing well today and how you could improve, because you want to build up that picture of how it is that you are communicating at the moment, and therefore identifying those areas that you need to work on and develop to improve. You could also do some self-reflection. If you're very self-aware or have had feedback in the past, you may be able to identify today's picture. But please just bear in mind that when I work with clients, sometimes they're overly critical of themselves, and it can be hard to build up an objective picture of how you're doing with communication skills. So I would much rather, if you can, go ask some people, ideally more than one, because you want to build up an accurate picture. And if you're haven't got anybody you can ask, then please come and ask me. I'm always very, very happy to give people feedback on their communication skills currently. So that is today's picture. Next, you want to move into celebrate the journey. So just like developing any skills, developing your communication skills is a journey. It's not a one-shot wonder. It doesn't happen overnight. It might take weeks, months, depending on how big your goal is. It might take more than years, but hopefully it shouldn't take that long. But I suppose the point is that it's a long period of time. So do celebrate your progress and your wins along the way. So even if you have a presentation or meeting where it wasn't perfect, it wasn't exactly as you wanted it to be in your visualization, it doesn't matter. Celebrate what did go well and celebrate what you have improved on. So it is quite important to acknowledge where you're making progress and how you're moving away from today's picture towards your goal. It's also important in the next step to capture your learnings. And this comes back to feedback again, of course, but we need to understand how we can keep on improving and understand how we can keep moving towards the goals that we have set. So make sure you capture learnings, whether that is self-reflection after important communication contexts, like an important meeting or a presentation. And remember just to capture very simply what worked well and what you would do differently next time. Or go back to some people that you asked for feedback at the beginning to establish today's picture. And they can be quite helpful so they can see how you are progressing over time as well and get their input so you can capture the learnings and just make sure that you're like a ship, you're readjusting, getting back on track and focusing on where you need to improve. And that's it. That is it. I was just checking my notes, but yes, that is it for today in terms of why it matters to establish communication goals and how to really establish those meaningful goals. So just going back through the summary of the key points that we've covered today. So start with your why. Why is it you want to improve your communication? What has that got to do with your current role performance or your current context? And what is that going to enable you to do in the future, particularly tying into your long-term career ambitions? Then visualize success. This is so important. This is such a motivator for us to really make sure that we keep moving towards that goal and that we can stay focused on our path. Today's picture. We need to know where we're starting from. If we don't know where we're starting from, then it makes it harder to know what is the journey we need to take. So please do get that feedback and establish today so you can create the roadmap. Celebrate the journey. It is a journey. It doesn't happen overnight. So celebrate what is going well and what you are improving on. And then finally, capture the learnings. That is also incredibly important. This is the way that we continually improve through feedback and understand what we need to still work on and keep developing. So I do hope that's been useful for you today to really understand how to establish your communication goals in a meaningful way. If you're somebody who needs a bit more support around this area and you feel like that you would like to get some personal feedback or some help actually establishing your goals and roadmap, then please get in touch with me. I would love to have a conversation with you and understand how I can support you to really get on your communication journey. Thank you so much for joining me today for Wednesday Words, where we've been talking about establishing communication goals that are meaningful. I look forward to seeing you next time. I'm Victoria Reynoldson, communication and culture coach.